Now I'm going to introduce the moderator who is with us already. I'm just going to introduce her and she's going to take it from there. So let me just put my face so that people know who is talking. It's good to see everyone and thanks for joining us. So let me just read out the profile of our moderator for today. She's someone that is very passionate about mental health. She's an advocate for mental health, hence the reason why we deliberately chose her to moderate this session. Oluwasho R. Olusegun is a radio presenter, compare voiceover talent, and podcaster. She's compared many events and moderated sessions across various sectors such as health, technology, agriculture, education, and business. She is a wellness and health advocate, sustainable development goals enthusiast with special interest in SDG 3, public health. She co-hosted Workplace and Emotional Balance 3, organized by a Cross-All Initiative, and moderated a conversation on mental health put together by Psych Bubble Foundation. She is the host of Health and Jara, a weekly podcast on health and wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, please milk welcome Olusegun as she takes over from me. You're welcome, Olusegun.
Hi, good morning, or rather, good afternoon or good noon for appropriateness. It's a pleasure to be here, definitely. This is still the new normal we're trying to adjust to, and I am really trying so hard to adjust to it. So, thank you so much for gathering here. It's a pleasure, it's a delight, it's an honor because, number one, this is not just any event moderating for me, it's something that a conversation that I look forward to. And officially, let me welcome everybody who is here. I see Mr. Emmanuel, I see Nkem, Offonabo, I see Muidin, I see Folajaiye Kareem, oh, I see Victor, I see a lot of people. So thank you so much for joining here today. And most importantly, thank you very much, Toluse, for this honor and opportunity. I mentioned on my social media page that this is one conversation I very much look forward to because it is everywhere all around us. And in case you're just joining for the first time or you do not know what this is about workplace harassment. It's a conversation that we need to talk about. And I'm very delighted because we're having a very balanced panel session. We are going to be having a balanced panel that will be having the contributions of mental health professionals and also the HR, the juggernauts, the HR juggernauts. If you are not very comfortable yet, please ensure that you get a seat or somewhere that you can take in all the value and most importantly, the action points that will need you to work with after this session. So straight to the point, we do not have much time to waste. I am going to introduce the person who has introduced me as he makes his own remark, or rather as he gives his address. So it's a pleasure, it's a delight definitely to have you, Toluse Francis, here today talking about workplace harassment and bullying, to open this officially and to tell us why we are here. I am just here to moderate the session and to take everybody's comment and feedback. But before then, let me give you a little insight into this very great man. So Toluse is someone that is very involved in everything that involves mental health, everything that involves advocacy for a balanced life. Also, he has lots of certification. He's an author in many ways that he actually has several. I wouldn't be the one to let the cat out of the bag, definitely. When it's time, he's going to release more books, but he's an author. He's someone that I really respect in this mental health advocacy, and he is someone who has proven result, has is someone from the biochemistry world that decided to transition into the mental health space when it comes to therapy and using really practical skills to help people get back to their life and also to correct a lot of habits that need to be addressed. Toluse is your person. He is in charge of real consulting. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you could give me your ear applause. If you can't, it's okay. You can just clap wherever you are. Please welcome Toluse Francis. Thank you very much, Folajaiye, for clapping. I see you.
Thank you very much, Olusegun. very excited that we are doing this today because it's something that took me great courage to even put out there. So I'll begin by saying what even brought about this. All right. So some weeks back, we had an Instagram live where we discussed workplace bullying. My guest then was Dr. Gbonjubola Abiri, who is here with us again. Thank you so much, Doctor. She's always there for me and for Real Consulting. And while the conversation was going on, a lot of people had questions and felt, look, let's take this conversation beyond this place because these things are happening. People experience this in the workplace. And so we began by running a survey to find out if people even know what workplace bullying really is. Do people even have an idea of what it is all about, you know? And a number of responses have come in, you know, and it's obvious that it is happening in the workplace. And so we decided that, you know what, let's come have a conversation about this. But then I didn't want to be biased because I could have just said, okay, let's bring mental health professionals only to talk about these things. But they don't sit in those companies, they don't manage people in those organizations. At the end of the day, it only comes to mental health professionals when it has adverse effect and people just want to correct things and all that. So let's bring those who interact with employees, who interact with employers. And so we decided to bring HR professionals into this space. And that's why today we have Mr. Emmanuel Michael, who is a man that I respect so much. He came Offonabo, a wonderful woman that I salute a lot, who is shaking the HR space as well. And then I said to call on my friend all the way from Abuja, Folajaiye Kareem, who is a clinical psychologist, who would also help us here today. And also I call her my big mommy in the industry, Dr. Gbonjubola. We have shared platforms together, but she's still my orga any day. So I want to encourage us to brace up, be open towards this conversation. Let it be an opportunity for you to learn and take back to your organization. If you're a founder, if you're a CEO, if you're an HR professional, if you're a mental health professional, let this be a call to you that you would go back and check what you're not doing right in your organization and make the adjustment. This is just the beginning. We're going to keep hammering and talking about this particular subject matter. So we're not done yet, and we've not even started. This is just a tip of the iceberg. So you can share this link with your friends who wants to join. They can join us here. And we're also streaming on YouTube, so people can also watch on YouTube. So once again, thank you everyone for coming up here, and I trust that we're going to have a wonderful time together. Thank you.
I wish I could hear people clapping right now. This is one of the reasons I don't so much like virtual things, but hey, it's the new normal and we have to do with it. So thank you very much for opening us up to what we are here for today. And most importantly, saying that, this is like the first step. We need to go back to actually get the work done. So that's very important. So we are going into the first address of today, and I am going to be taking that from Mr. Emmanuel, I suppose. Before then, I am going to read his profile for you to understand who is coming up to speak. Or you want to say something?
Yeah, let's have Fola first. Let's have Fola
Okay.
first.
All right. So first off is Mr. Folajaiye Kareem. Folajaiye Kareem is a licensed clinical psychologist of the Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists, NACP, and a registered member of the Nigerian Psychological Association, which is NPA. He specializes in psychological assessment and intervention within the context of individual, couple, family, and group settings. He holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and master's degree in clinical psychology from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. He has received specialized training nationally and internationally on several professional psychosocial courses. This includes trainings on psychological assessment techniques, psychological trauma management, motivational interviewing, cognitive behavior therapy, which is CBT, schema therapy, dialectical accelerated experiential dynamic therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, motivation enhancement therapy, collaborative couple therapy, assessment and management of substance use disorders. Basically, when you're looking for a lot of therapy, this is your go-to person. WHO trained the trainers course and a host of mental health intervention strategies. Folajaiye also specializes in therapy for certain life events. This could be chronic medical issues and situations, childbirth, divorce, impotence, infertility, sexual dysfunctions, infidelity, and grief counseling. As the training team lead of Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative, which is MANI, Abuja, he conducts workshops and seminars on a myriad of topics to promote positive mental health and psychological well-being. As a mental health professional, he's regularly involved in mental health crisis interventions such as suicide prevention, psychological first aid, and psychotrauma healing endeavors. Folajaiye's altruism afford him to be organizations that serve to promote humanity. This include the British Council, Royal Commonwealth Society, Voluntary Service Overseas, ACIDO Foundation, and so many others. The desire to ensure that everyone has optimum psychosocial well-being has been the driving force of his life achievements, which he has continued to fulfill within diverse religious, cultural, and socio-economical settings. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women, please welcome Folajaiye Kareem.
Everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Okay. It's a pleasure to be here today, and it's a privilege. I want to thank you for that. I don't like hearing my citation read, but I'll still go ahead to thank you for that wonderful citation. And I'm thanking Toluse, my friend from Lagos, and my Ogatu in Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative for this opportunity to talk about a very important topic that a lot of people seem to not really understand, and even when they do, shy away from. So I'm hoping that when we break the ground concerning the topic today, we would have everything that we need to understand in the subject area. So I have shared, okay, yes, if you look, you will see my slides on the topic, and I will just be prompting for the slides to go on. So I'm going to be talking about a psychologist's perspective to workplace bullying and harassment. Okay, next slide. Okay, so if you are asked today what workplace bullying is, a lot of people think that it's just something that has to do with being humiliated by a boss, or doing things that aggravate someone's situation of maybe a form of neglect or intimidation in the office, but it has to do with a lot more than that. And as you can see in this picture, it is an inappropriate conduct or comment, that the perpetrator may have known or ought to have known to show that it is an inappropriate conduct. And this conduct has capacity to humiliate or intimidate the victim. If you go to the next slide, I have a detailed explanation of what that definition is. It says it is any inappropriate conduct or comment by a person or a people. So it can be by more than one person, to a worker or to other workers as well, that the person knew or ought to have known would cause the worker to be humiliated or intimidated. And these actions could be deliberate, repeated, and the consequence is that it is health endangering mistreatment. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you look at this picture, you see that the perpetrator may be more than one person, and the target also may be more than one person. Next slide, please. And also, the perpetrator may include your boss, your direct line manager, a supervisor, a fellow co-worker, a client, a customer, or anyone at all, as long as it is as a result of your workplace endeavor and it has capacity to impede on your health and generally on the output, that you give as a result of the fact that you are working, it can qualify as workplace bullying and harassment. Next slide, please. So we have different types of workplace bullying. I categorize them into three: direct, indirect, and mobbing. So what is direct workplace bullying or harassment? It is repeated, on an example, I'll give you an example. It's not like a definition. It's like repeated yelling or verbal humiliation, sometimes silence. Now it's direct, but it shows because it's a silent or deliberate neglect and exclusion by the perpetrator. So usually these things occur and they are repeated, but because some of them are quite subtle, people do not really understand that what they are passing through is workplace bullying or harassment. Although also it could be indirect, whereby you are not directly shown to be abused or humiliated, as the case may be, and maybe a co-worker or a boss can be doing things at your back, behind your back, sabotaging you, spreading damaging rumors, imposing unreasonable work demands designed to make you fail your targets or to make you fail, as it were. And then also it can be a collective work by other co-workers, ganging up to bully a fellow co-worker. Next slide, please. And also, it could be in form of cyberbullying. So via text messages, social media platforms, social media posts, people can go as far as, calling you names online or doing things that would almost culminate to cyberbullying. So yes, cyberbullying can be part of workplace bullying and harassment. Next slide, please. So, like I said earlier, examples include yelling or name calling, vandalizing personal belongings. I don't know if some of the people who are participating today have seen this movie, Horrible Bosses. I think a lot of this was displayed in that movie. Vandalizing personal belongings and harmful hazing or initiation practices. Next slide, please. Okay, so now that we know what workplace bullying or harassment looks like, what do we not consider as workplace bullying or harassment? Next slide, please. So things like tasking employers to meet deadline appropriately cannot be considered as workplace harassment, because a lot of people, when they see the policy of what workplace harassment stands for, they tend to abuse the privilege, because companies that are serious take workplace harassment quite seriously. And so, but it doesn't mean that when a boss or when a direct supervisor instructs you to, attempt to meet deadline, it doesn't culminate to workplace harassment. However, if it is done in a humiliating way, then it can suffice to be workplace bullying. Also, if you are being served a query for not keeping to your job description, it does not serve as workplace harassment. And also, if you are given punishment or maybe like a fine or a sanction for not keeping to time or just basically doing your work, that will not culminate as workplace harassment. The reason why this is important is because people in the workplace have a job description. They have certain tasks that they must meet up to. They have routines and they have deadlines. And if your work is not making sure that these deadlines are met or the work is being done, then you are not doing your work. And to complain that being told to do your work is a problem, will not serve as workplace harassment. Let's go to the next slide. Now, we also have to talk about the risk factors to workplace bullying. So, several things might pose as risk factors for workplace bullying, like I've outlined here. The first is work stressors. That's heavy workload, for instance. If maybe you are given too much task than you can handle, more often than not, because of the complexity of the task, you might not be able to meet up, and it might put you at risk to being bullied at work. Also, the leadership style is good. Transformational leaders are usually the best at handling workplace bullying. However, a lot of leaders in the workplace environment do not have this kind of leadership quality. And so when they are just all about targets and deadlines alone and without actually caring for the mental, emotional, and psychological well-being of their staff, more often than not, workplace bullying and harassment can creep in. Others include the systems of work, work relationships, and workforce characteristics. Workforce characteristics including maybe the different kinds of attributes that the workers have and the dynamics in working together. Let's move to the next slide. So now that we understand this, what are the consequences of workplace bullying to the victim? You see, several repercussions on the employee and the workplace suffice. So the truth is that there will definitely be repercussions both on the part of the employee and on the workforce because somebody is a victim of workplace bullying and harassment. A variety of health problems such as physical illness, muscular tension, headaches, and digestive problems. And also mental health problems such as depression and anxiety disorders may spring up, and loss of self-esteem. And all this can lead to several other damaging mental health problems. Then deteriorating relationships with colleagues, family, and friends, because once there is already a dysfunction in that sphere of life, it is possible that there will be dysfunction also in other areas of life. Then also I highlighted here that increased risk of suicide. Yes, it's high because remember that because a lot of people do not really understand when they are going through bullying and what to do about it, they have this internalized emotion seated deep within that they cannot express. And the truth is, emotions always need a channel to be expressed. If they are not expressed in an adaptive way, they will come out maladaptively. And suicide is one of the maladaptive ways that people attempt to cope with certain stressors in their lives. Let's go on. So, what are the consequences of workplace bullying to the workplace? Like I said, the consequence actually happens from the perspective of the employee and also from the workplace. Now, in the workplace, we tend to see diminished productivity and morale. And this diminished productivity might just start from one person, but the truth is that it has a multiplier effect on the workforce. And so if it is not addressed immediately, it has the capacity to almost transmit almost like a communicable disease in the workforce. Absenteeism as well. If one staff is becoming absent, and they cannot do so much about it, the truth is that it will have a ripple effect also in the workplace. Increased employee benefit cost. Yes, when people begin to have problems in your workplace, the truth is people will begin to start seeking help, maybe medical help or leave for one thing or the other. And these are employee benefit costs that are accumulating in the part of the employer and the workplace. Now, risk of legal action as well. So people who do not feel comfortable in the workplace, can begin to plot how to make legal action as a result of what they are going through in order to find a leverage to not, in a way, to cushion the effect of the workplace bullying and harassment that has been accumulating for years. Don't forget that in the definition, More often than not, it is a repeated behavior, something that has been happening and ongoing. And when these things pile up, they can become risky. They can become risky in the part of the so sorry, you lost me there. Today is my birthday, so a lot of people have been trying to reach me. Okay, let me continue. Risk in legal action, as I was mentioning. So that's more of it, because a lot of people would have the need to want to meet with you, to want to fulfill their needs for working with you. And once they discover that they are victims of bullying and they don't have anywhere to resort to, they can begin to gather evidence against your company, against the workforce, to bring the workforce down. And finally, this will all ultimately lead to bad publicity that can damage the image of organizations. This is why it is important, extremely important, to tackle workplace bullying from the get-go. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what do you do when you discover that workplace bullying and harassment is in effect in your workplace? Now, if you are affected by workplace bullying, the first thing that you want is that you want it to stop. Now, what you can do is, number one, speak or write to the person directly and explain how their actions are affecting you. It's important that when you notice it, and you notice it immediately, that you take appropriate action immediately to nip it in the bud. Otherwise, it becomes a stitch that, if you do not save, will, they say a stitch in time saves nine. So if you don't save that tear and you don't stitch it immediately, it has capacity to become a bigger wound. Then I was listening to one of my mentors, Jordan Peterson, who was saying that when you get into the workplace, one of the things, the duties that you have, is to be able to
I see a cute girl walk by here who seems like she might be into a dude who's horribly disfigured, yet great in bed.
I'm getting some feedback.
4 out of 5 people suffer from diarrhea. Does that mean that one dude enjoys it?
Hello? Who was saying that? Hello?
Go on, Fola.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that if someone is affected by workplace bullying, it's important that you speak out or write directly to the person and explain how their actions are affecting you. I was talking about what Jordan Peterson was saying, that when you discover that when you walk into a workplace environment for the first time, it's important that you stamp your foot in the ground as someone who, both subtly saying that you are someone who should not be messed up with.
Hello?
Or saying that something that is very important.
Please. Wade Wilson. Deadpool.
Also,
Who am I? I'm Deadpool.
Whatever.
Whatever. Of course I am. It's me.
Directly to the person
I'm Wade Wilson.
and explain how their actions are affecting you. The next one is you report by providing as many relevant information as you can to help inquiry and investigation. Now, this is very important. That's after you have been able to, if not speaking with the person is possible, because most of the time it usually makes, I don't know how to put it now. It is usually the line officer or your direct supervisor that would be the perpetrator, and talking to that person might be impossible. And so it is important that you begin to gather relevant information that can help you if an inquiry and investigation is going to be possible. Okay. The next one, can we skip to the next slide?
Sorry, Fola, just a minute. We have someone who is trying to hijack this meeting. So I need to get the person out and log the meeting. Just a minute.
Officer or your direct supervisor.
Whatever.
That would be the perpetrator.
I'm talking to you.
That person might be impossible.
You know what I could go for right now? Booty. Do you have any?
So I'm going to lock the meeting just a minute. Yes, I removed him. I removed him. Just a minute, please. Give me a moment. Let me lock this meeting. Just a minute.
I've also been having feedback for some people who want to join the meeting but have not been able to.
Yes, unfortunately, they will have to join on YouTube. Anyways, go on. I'll work on it back end. Just go on.
Okay. Is there a link to it on YouTube before we continue?
Yes, I'll drop it in the comment section now.
All right, please drop it so I can share.
All right.
Thank you. All right, can I go on now?
Yes, I think you can go on.
You can go on, Fola.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. So, when you are trying to take note of what all that has happened, it is important that you should note the following. The first is when it happened. So the date, the time, and the place that the incident happened. Try as much as possible to get as much detail as you can concerning the incident. Also, you need to talk about what happened, what was said, and what language was used at the time. You also need to talk about who was involved, what you saw or who saw it rather, because when someone else sees it, it helps you corroborate your evidence. And then you also need to talk about if anyone else is affected by the same thing that you are reporting. Then you have to describe, this is where I come in line, that you have to describe how the event made you feel and how it affected your health. So what you need to do is, after you do that, you record what happened immediately after the event. That's if you sought advice. Sometimes out of shock, we tend to try and do something to cushion the effect of whichever event or anything that we find distressing. And so maybe we run to someone for advice. You need to try and remember what you did just immediately after the event happened. The person you sought advice from, who you sought it from, and what their feedback was. And if it was something that brought harm to you, you also need to talk about if you needed medical attention as a result of this incident that happened. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. Accumulating evidence. What you need to do if you have to accumulate evidence when you discover that you're a victim of workplace bullying is that you keep copies of anything written. Example, emails, texts, social media posts, or screenshots, anything that you can find, which is also in the flip side, it's also important that when you need to report something that is that maybe, for instance, if you are being gaslighted or you are being mobbed by some workers, it's necessary that you try as much as possible to keep an impeccable record, and that you attempt to not have anything that they can use against you when your case is being brought forward, maybe via law enforcement. Also, you need to make a video, or that's if it becomes that necessary, you make a video or an audio recording of yourself, not the incident exactly, of yourself explaining what happened immediately you can, as soon as you have the capacity to, so that you don't forget the details of the event. Make a video or audio recording of yourself explaining what happened. And then you ensure you are not putting anyone in danger or breaking any laws when making recordings. So this is why recordings need to be done in a guided manner. ensure that you are not doing it out of maybe breaching the confidentiality of whoever you feel is the perpetrator. And also keep all the information on logs if the incident is ongoing. For instance, maybe if it's by phone call, somebody has been trying to harass you in the workplace, it's important that you keep the logs of it and so on. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so who to report to? The first place that has been suggested that we report to is our line manager. But unfortunately, it is most likely that person you are having problem with. This is because in the incident, you and your line manager may have become close to have just more than a work relationship, just because you have to do a lot of things together in close proximity. But if you're not able to report to your line manager, it is highly suggested that you go to the HR, or more precisely, a union representative. So if you are part of a professional body, for instance, maybe if you are a doctor and you are, because a lot of doctors are on this table. I had someone, a friend of mine, who is a doctor, saying that we want to shake the table of doctors because a lot of them are on this table. Now, if you find yourself as a doctor going through workplace bullying, one of the things that you can do is to report to union representatives, of the National Union of Doctors. I've forgotten what it's called now, but it's really important. And then also you can report to a confidential whistleblowing hotline. So the Nigerian government has been trying it in its own way to ensure that you have a smooth working relationship with your co-workers. But I don't know how far they've been able to achieve it. But they also have some of these put in place just to be able to make sure that there is a safe space for anyone who may be a victim of workplace bullying and harassment. Let's go to the next slide. So, who should
Sorry for
come?
that.
All right then.
Hold on. I want to stop sharing a bit so that we can take this nigger off the screen.
Okay.
I apologize for this. Okay, you're good to go.
Oh, okay, awesome. So, if you see this picture, this is a picture of what we can do to prevent workplace bullying. The truth is, it is workplace harassment and bullying is one of the few things that has to come from the top to the bottom. So it means that the leaders have a higher portion of the share in it to ensuring that your workplace is safe from bullying and harassment. Let's go to the next slide. As you can see, it's the responsibility of the leader to protect workers' safety. It is responsibility, the sole responsibility of the leader. That will include your boss, your supervisor, anybody that is a superior in the workplace environment, to be able to stamp their foot and say no to workplace bullying, maybe by putting policies in place, by putting out orientation and the rest, as you will see in the next slide. Okay, so supervisors and workers, we also have, for the workers also have a responsibility, and that responsibility is to comply with the workers' employers' policies and procedures. So if they have put policies in place in a workplace environment about workplace bullying and harassment, it is the responsibility of supervisors and workers to comply with those policies and procedures. Let's go on to the next slide. So all this lead us to preventing workplace bullying. So what can we do? Like I said earlier, it starts with leaders who promote mutual respect in the workplace. leaders have to send a direct message that bullying and harassment will not be tolerated. Unfortunately, in the Nigerian setting, it doesn't seem like, especially in the private sector, it doesn't seem like this is communicated well enough. Organizations should educate employees about workplace bullying right from orientation and from time to time. It should be frequently talked about so that it can stamp in the work culture of that organization. Now, policies and procedures should be made public for addressing bullying behavior fairly and promptly. Those are the key words, fairly and promptly. And finally, to take an integrated approach to create a mentally healthy workplace. For example, implementing an employee wellness program or an employee assistance program, which involves mental health professionals, who help to be able to gauge the emotional states and well-being of the workers to ensure and enhance productivity in the workplace. Next slide. So if you'd like to have more resources on workplace bullying, this is a very good website called worksafebc.com/bullying. So worksafebc.com/bullying. Next slide, please. So they have a handful of resources such as handbooks, checklists, procedures, guide, policy, posters, and fact sheets about workplace bullying, which can also help, give you the capacity to report workplace bullying as at when due. Next slide, please. Now, this is where it comes home. I'll be rounding up anytime soon. What can we do to manage the impact of workplace bullying on mental health? The truth is that because workplace bullying is in itself a stressor, it is handled like any other mental health condition. And the first thing to do is to address potential sources of stress in the individual. And when this individual, complains, it is important that when they make a complaint, for those of us who are employers here, to toe the path of listening first and responding to the complaint and not dismiss whatever complaint that they have. This would improve the support that the employee feels he or she has in the workplace. Also, support and help someone with a mental health condition resulting from workplace bullying. So if somebody has already had a mental health condition as a result of workplace bullying, it is in the part of the workers, supervisors, leaders, and the employers to ensure that they give the appropriate support to somebody who is currently suffering a mental health condition as a result of workplace bullying. And also try to use improved work environments to facilitate recovery. So what that means is, because of what had happened to the person, you tend to orientate whoever has been a victim of bullying to, as much as possible, show them that the workplace environment is now improved and good to go for and healthy or safe enough for the person to resume work. Because a lot of times when people are victims of workplace bullying, they seek exit or they have low performance. But when you encourage them that the workplace environment has been improved, the thing is that they are more eager to come back to work and give their best. And finally, work helps to improve quality of life. So because you have to encourage them to come back to work, you also have to ensure that you are letting them understand that work helps to improve the quality of life, give structure and routine, give a sense of meaning and purpose, promote opportunities, and social inclusion and support. So work can also be a strategy to improve the mental health of somebody who has been a victim of workplace bullying, as long as the person is put back in a more safe work environment. Next slide. Now, what are the barriers? I think this should be my last slide. What are the barriers to reporting workplace bullying and harassment? The first is that because a lot of people are afraid, right, about the effect of workplace bullying, the truth is that fear that colleagues may find out about the diagnosis, if they've had a mental health diagnosis as a result of workplace bullying, it may lead to them not even attempting to let superiors know or co-workers know about the workplace bullying. Also, it can also lead to loss of connection and work and co-workers. Then there will be perceived or actual lack of support from employers and managers. Just because there is a perceived lack of support, people will most likely not report workplace bullying. And then there will be uncertainty also about the level of support or type of support available. And then stigma associated with mental health conditions are part of the barriers. And finally, concerns that work-related contributors to stress, anxiety, and depression may have not been addressed. So just the mere fact that there is a concern that the same issue that has been causing the stress and the workplace bullying in the environment has not been addressed, because that is still in play, just that fear that it has not been addressed, people would not necessarily report workplace harassment and bullying. Next slide, please. I repeat again that employers have an obligation to take reasonable steps to prevent bullying and harassment or minimize it where possible. Next slide. Thanks, Emmanuel. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I'm sure you have questions.
Certainly, we have lots of questions, and I feel like you've said so much on this topic that we should just end the meeting, share the smart shops, and be on our way. Thank you very much. And talking of smart shops, happy birthday to you. We didn't realize it was your birthday, so we hope we get the e-cake somehow or the e-smart shops. That would be lovely. Happy birthday to you again. And so I mentioned that you've already talked a lot about this topic. We will have questions after we have the panel session and discussion. We certainly will be taking questions from people who drop theirs as time goes on. Now you've talked about a lot of it from the mental health perspective. Now is the time for us to hear from the HR perspective, because right now it looks like, yes, maybe the HR people are being accused. So to give us a presentation on that, I will definitely be bringing up Mr. Emmanuel Michael, a little insight into who he is. So Mr. Emmanuel Michael is a seasoned after strategic business leader with over 20 years management experience spanning various industries such as multidisciplinary engineering, information technology, hospitality, and financial services, of which over 15 years have been in human resources management practice. Between March and August 2017, he held forth as interim CEO and head of HR MFB Microfinance Bank in Nigeria. He's currently the head of human capital at Lashego, Nigeria. Mr. Emmanuel is a HR practitioner. We have the SPHRI, we have the HRPL, we have the MCIPM, and also the MITD. Subject matter expert with the HRCI in USA, CIPM in Nigeria, a microfinance certified banker, MCIB, of the International Association of Facilitators, IA.
Hello, Sean, we can't hear you. Are you there? Okay, Sean seems to have been kicked out, so I'll just continue. He serves as a career and business mentor on various.
I'm so sorry. I apologize for my network.
Go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go on.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I'm going to take it from the second paragraph. Mr. Emmanuel is a globally certified HR practitioner, SPHRI, HRPL, MCIPM, MITD, subject matter expert with the HRCI USA, CIPM Nigeria, a microfinance certified banker, MCIB, and a member of the International Association of Facilitators, IAF. He serves as a career and business mentor on various mentoring platforms, which include the Cherry Blair Foundation for Women, the Joel Omeike 100 Young Professionals Network, the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, Google Launchpad Start, Faith Foundation, and the Incubators Africa, amongst others. His contribution to the global HR community has resulted in several recognitions and awards, both locally and internationally. Chief among them are the 100th most influential global HR leaders in 2018, 101 global HR heroes in 2019, and 501 most fabulous global HR leaders in 2020, the awards by the World HR Congress. It was recently recognized as a top-rated most inclusive HR influencer list by Social Nicole, top 8, thought leader in Africa, top 50 personalities on LinkedIn in Nigeria, top 3 best revenue sales supporting HR, and top 50 career influencers in Africa. In addition to being a regular contributor on current HR issues and trends on social media channels, Emmanuel enjoys public speaking at both local and international fora, blogs at www.enmichael.ng, and hosts #HR with EM with focus on career development, leadership, and employee experience. Emmanuel can be reached on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook via his handle at enmichael. With his impressive profile, please welcome to speak on workplace bullying and harassment, Emmanuel Michael. I'm clapping for you, sir.
Okay, that was a very long intro. So I hope you can all hear me clearly, right?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Okay, fine. So I do not have any slides to show. So I'm just going to speak. Folajaiye, yes, he has done a very great job. He has covered almost everything. Just like you said, I think we just share the small chops and then everyone will go home. Okay, so let me just go quickly. So he has made my job very easy. So I'm not going to dwell so much on some of the things that he has covered. So what is bullying? Okay, I'm going to be talking about the role HR needs to play with regard to creating a safe workplace. And he has aptly described what bullying is all about. The Fair Work Australia, which is like a ministry that's responsible for ensuring a fair workplace, has defined bullying as a group of people or an individual who are repeatedly behaving unreasonably, okay, towards a worker or group of workers, okay, and then their action creates a risk to health and safety. So, which is actually what he has described. So, when you have a certain group of people or line managers who are behaving in a certain way that creates risk for others in that particular workplace, you will then say that bullying or harassment is present in that particular place of work. So the question then next is, what do we do as HR professionals in order to address this challenge? And then there is no workplace where you don't have this situation. It is present in everywhere, even in homes. You have bullying present in homes, you have harassment at homes, in the hospital, like he had alluded to. Every workplace, whether it's the multinationals, the owner-managed business, there's harassment present in such an organization. And basically, how does it present? It presents itself in such a way that depending on what the relationship between the person who is bullying the other, it could be as a result of the work that the person is carrying out. You want them to do something, but you're putting so much pressure on them to the point that you are threatening them, so they are scared, the employee is scared, that could result, that could be said to be bullying. So as HR professionals, what do we need to do? Okay, is the HR professional responsibility, okay, to play a key role in ensuring that the workplace is safe. Okay? The workplace is free from bullying, is free from violence. So the HR professional should not just sit back. There is need for that HR professional to put in place some machinery or certain things to ensure that we're able to stamp out bullying from the workplace. So it starts first with communication. The HR professional needs to ensure that there is clear communication on the expectation in terms of behavior. Okay? So what sort of behavior do we expect from the people that work with us? What sort of behavior do we expect from our leaders? What sort of behavior do we expect from our supervisors, line managers? That needs to be clearly defined, okay? And when we define that, the next thing we need to do is to ensure that there is a policy and procedure document that outlines exactly what we categorize as bullying, what we categorize as harassment, okay? And this definition can be updated from time to time so that no one will say, I'm not aware that this behavior or this attitude is categorized as bullying. Okay? So we need to ensure as HR professionals, they need to create a policy and procedure document that will outline our anti-bullying policy. And then the steps that anyone who is a victim of this behavior, what they need to do, okay? And then also ensure that for line managers, what they also need to do to ensure that they don't exhibit such behavior. This policy document should clearly assure the people who are victims that whatever they share with the HR team or the person who is designated to investigate this bullying behavior, that the information they provide will be treated in confidence, okay? Because confidentiality is key. If I come to you as my HR manager and I describe the experience I'm having with my line manager, he or she is harassing me or bullying me, and then immediately I walk out of your office, you pick your phone and you call my line manager, do you know, Joy just came in now and she said you did X, Y, Z. So you see, you've betrayed my trust. Okay? You've betrayed my trust. And so next time when something happens, I wouldn't want to come forward to tell you. So the HR manager needs to ensure that they gain the confidence of the person who is complaining and then find ways and means to investigate what is going on and take steps to address that situation. Okay? So then the other thing is in terms of investigation, before the investigation, the procedure for reporting. So Fola has described what you need to do, the evidence you need to gather. You need to make sure you have some evidence together. And for people to be able to know how to put the evidence together, it would be nice that when employees or new employees are joining, or even if you don't have such a policy now and you want to implement the policy, you need to take everyone through some sort of training to explain to them what they need to do, just like the way we have the whistleblowing policies and programs in the organization. That whistleblowing policy or channel should also be an avenue for you to be able to report. So say, for instance, your supervisor is bullying you, you should be able to report to your line manager. If your line manager is bullying you, you should be able to extend it to the HR team. And then we even have situations where in some cases, the HR people are the ones bullying employees. So who do they report to? There has to be procedures that will enable employees to be able to escalate to the next level, even as far as going up to the board, okay? To report the situation. So these channels have to be put in place, documented, and clearly outlined for everyone in the workplace to know that this is what we need to do when you are faced with a bullying or a harassment situation in the workplace, okay? And then sometimes the employees might come to you. They don't necessarily have to put it in writing. Sometimes you say, okay, so this is the situation you are facing. Okay, go and put it in writing. They don't have to put it in writing. They can share with you as the HR manager, take what they've shared with you try to do some preliminary investigation, because like for me, what I do in my place is I've made my number available to every employee, and they have been told, I've made sure I've told them that they are all free to reach out to me anytime, any day, you know. They can send me an SMS, they can call me when they are faced with any situation. So this makes them feel free, whatever it is. And when I engage with them, okay, I try to make them understand that they should feel free, even when they see me, say, walking through the hallway, they can stop me, they have something to share, feel free to share, okay? And when they've shared with me and discovered that that thing that they've discussed with me, I'm able to investigate it, and at the end of the day, get it resolved. It builds more confidence and increases my credibility within the rank and file of the employees, and they are free to continue to share things with me. So when they share things with you, you need to swiftly take an action. If you don't treat it swiftly, handle it swiftly, get it investigated and resolved there and then, it becomes a problem. So people who are facing harassment, are being bullied, they won't come to you. Instead, they will go out there to the social media and complain. And before you know it, the company is receiving negative press, okay? And the brand of that organization is going bad out there, is dropping. So I'm going to share 5 top tips that HR managers, 5 top tips for HR managers to manage workplace bullying. So the first one is there is need to adopt an anti-bullying policy. So if you don't have one, you need to put one in place. So you need to define bullying and harassment in clear terms, okay? What exactly is it? There should be no ambiguity in your definition of what bullying is, what harassment, and give examples, okay? So that when people are behaving that way, everyone will know this is a bullying behavior, this is a harassment behavior, okay? So define bullying and harassment in clear terms and make sure employees understand what crosses the line in your books, okay? So when they cross the line, they automatically know this behavior is crossing the line. And when you've done this, what do you then do next? You distribute this across the workplace. So everybody, from the security man, the cleaner, to the CEO, to the board members, we all know what bullying is. We all know what harassment is. So that's the first thing you need to do. Then the second thing, top tip number 2, is to remind staff. How do you remind them? From time to time, you need to keep reminding them, explain bullying, explain harassment, explain the procedures to file a complaint, okay? At least once a year. Every year, you should make it a mandatory, okay? Make it mandatory to explain to everyone what is bullying, what is harassment, what are the procedures to file a complaint. Because the more we keep repeating it, okay, it remains in our consciousness. And because it's there in our consciousness, people will be scared to get, to behave in a way that is contrary to what we've defined in our books, okay? So you need to remind them. Then provide training. That's number 3. Provide training, managers and supervisors, okay? Because usually bullying, most times it's a question of power. Who has the power? The person that has the power within the organization is the one that bullies those that do not have the power. So it could be a group of people, okay? And they feel that they control the environment and they begin to bully others who maybe they are just new joiners in the system, okay? Or maybe there's one manager who feels he's the upper, he's the untouchable manager, or she's the untouchable manager in that particular organization. And then they begin to behave in a manner and way that bullies others and harasses the others. So manager and supervisor should receive specific training, okay, on your anti-bullying procedures and understand how complaints should be handled. So when their employees come to them or their direct reports come to them to report, they need to take action. And when they don't take action, they should understand that when action is not taken, that employee who is complaining will escalate. Okay? So let them know that there are escalation mechanism in place and how long the issue should stay with them. So if a report is made either within 24 or 48 hours, they need to take action. If they don't take action, the employee should be empowered to escalate to the next line manager. Okay, so that training needs to be there. Then number 4, there is need for us to monitor the workplace. As the HR person, you need to monitor the workplace. How do you monitor the workplace? You need to talk to employees, talk to supervisors from time to time. Okay, as you are moving through the shop floor, talk to your people, ask them about the work environment, ask them how things are going in their role. They will speak to you, but if you don't talk to them, you're always sitting in your office behind your closed door, you'll discover that they won't talk to you, and they feel that you're always behind the door, you don't know what is going on, you are not in touch with them. So you need to go to them, okay? Go to them, move from office to office, during lunchtime, engage, okay? And talk to them, try to find out. So in the course of doing that, they will begin to feel relaxed around you and tell you things that are happening, okay? And as they tell you things that are happening, you're beginning to pick out issues. If there are issues of harassment or bullying going on in the system, you will identify that. Then the final tip, which is the last one, there's need for us to establish counseling services, okay? So when people go through this experience, they need to be counseled. They need to be counseled. So either we have an internal or an external counselor. They can speak to employees who have been victimized, okay? In order to be able to help them build back their self-esteem. Because what bullying and harassment does is to reduce people's self-esteem, and then you feel that you are worthless. Makes people feel worthless. When they feel they are worthless, they are bullied, so they can, they are not able also, okay, when they are bullied and they feel worthless, they're not able to contribute their best in that particular organization. And some of the signs that you will notice when employees are going through these experiences, that you discover that, check out that person who is always asking for sick leave. Every little thing, maybe they have a little headache, they just want to go out of the workplace. When you call for engagement, they don't want to show up, okay, at work. It could be that they are suffering from bullying. So those are the 5 tips. Like I said, Fola has done so much, so I don't want to go over what he has shared. So let me just go over what I just shared with us. So the 5 top tips: number 1, you need to adopt an anti-bullying policy. Number 2, you need to remind your employees at least once a year of what bullying is, what harassment is, the procedure for filing complaint. And then number 3, you need to provide training to your line managers, okay? Provide training to your supervisors. Number 4, you need to monitor the workspace, okay? Monitor the workplace by talking to your employees from time to time. And number 5, you need to establish counseling services. So that's what I have for us today. So this is the way I think HR professionals need to, when they put this into practice, they'll be able to create a safe workplace for the employees, and then the employees will feel free to be able to voice their opinion, voice their challenges, knowing fully well that action will be taken, okay? And when any action is taken, it should also be good to make it public so that everyone knows this is the incident that we received, even if you don't want to disclose specifically who the person is, but these are the steps that we've taken, and this is what we've, the action that we've taken to address the situation. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, Folujaiye and Oluwaseun. Yes. And I hope that we'll be able to glean something from this short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It might be short, but it was very condensed and again with a lot of value. And I have definitely been able to get some things. I think one of the things I took from, I know there are a lot of employers, HR managers, that say they have an open, and you can always walk into their office to table whatever it is that is troubling you. But the truth is that you have an open door policy does not necessarily mean people will come to you. There are times you need to get down and then ask them, make them feel comfortable. You know, a lot of bullying and harassment issues that people feel is so delicate that you're not sure if they're going to get a backlash or if it's if the things they are revealing to you are confidential, if you're going to take it to someone. And I think these are definitely some of the things we will be talking about on the panel session, which we are going into right now. So thank you again for that, Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you.
So we have questions. In case you've asked questions and you're wondering why we've not taken them, we will take them in the course of this panel session. That's why we're here. It's going to be very rich. We're going to get really specific. We're going to talk about the actions, the specific actions, and the inactions that can be termed bullying and harassment in the workplace. So you've met Mr. Emmanuel, you've met Folajaiye Kareem. Now you're about to meet the other leaders on the panel session. Let me introduce you to Dr. Gbonjubola Abiri. She is a consultant psychiatrist, a managerial psychologist, a professional speaker, and the medical director of Tranquil and Quest Behavioral Health Lagos. She's a co-author of the book Mental Health in the Workplace. She's a fellow of the West Africa College of Physicians, WACP, a member of Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, the Employee Assistance Professional Association, EAPA, and the American Psychiatrist Association, APA. She has received trainings from the King's College, London, the University of Washington, and the prestigious Harvard University, Boston, USA. Passionate about research in child and adolescent forensic, women's health, women's mental health, and occupational mental health. Gbonjubola is a mental health advocate who is driven by the holistic view to health, and as such is a regular voice on various print and electronic media, where she utilizes illustrations and indigenous language to reach her audience. Uses her knowledge in psychiatry and psychology to influence and maximize effectiveness and productivity in the workplace via the Employee Assistance Program, EAP. She volunteers with the Adorable Foundation International. It is an NGO that is against drug abuse. The Asido Foundation as a means of contributing her own quota to the fight against the pandemic. She works with the THR Media as a consultant psychiatrist and a sexual and gender-based violence. I apologize for my bad network. I really do, I'm sorry. So I'll go back to one of the paragraphs and hope that I was, okay. So she is a fellow of the West African College of Physicians, WACP, and a member of Nigerian Medical Association, the Employee Assistant Professional Association, and the American Psychiatric Association. She has received trainings from the King's College London, the University of Washington, and the prestigious Harvard University, Boston, USA. Passionate about research in child and adolescent forensic, women's health, women's mental health, and occupational mental health. Gbonjubola is a mental health advocate who is driven by the holistic view to health, and as such is a regular voice on various print and electronic media, where she utilizes illustration and indigenous language to reach her audience. She also uses a knowledge in psychiatry and psychology to influence and maximize effectiveness and productivity in the workplace via the Employee Assistance Program, which is EAP. She volunteers with the Adorable Foundation International. It is an NGO against drug abuse, the Asido Foundation, and the Live Well Initiative. She currently volunteers with the Lagos State COVID-19 Psychosocial Response Team as a means of contributing our own quota to the fight against the pandemic. She works with the THR Media as a consultant psychiatrist and a sexual and gender-based violence advocate. She is a member of the Global Advisory Council of Joy, Inc. So wherever you are, please put your hands together for Dr. Gbonjubola Abiri.
All right.
I will now
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Gbonjubola. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
So I will read out the profile of Nkem Offonabo. Nkem Offonabo is a purpose-driven woman who has moved from being stuck to living purpose. To living purposefully, and is now on a mission to help busy professionals and entrepreneurs achieve work-life harmony. A graduate in psychology with a SEMP, which is Special Executive Management Program MBA from Metropolitan School of Business and Management, UK. She's a certified senior professional in human resources, which is SPHRI, and an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, ACIPM, with 12 years work experience spanning across recruitment, selection and onboarding, employee relations, organization development and change management, product and business development in the financial services industry. Currently working as a business development manager at First City Monuments Bank Limited. Nkem is also a trained life coach and neuro-linguistic programming professional. She is the founder of the Work-Life Organization Global Limited, a professional coaching and human resources management consultancy, where she works with individuals and organizations to provide coaching and training on employee wellness, work-life harmony, personal and organizational effectiveness, as well as human resource advisory. Nkem is also, she is a convener of Work-Life Conversation, a highly sought after group coaching community of working professionals and entrepreneurs. She has been featured on the Pink Network, Women to Watch. She leads Africa and the Plus TV Africa. She was, my bad. She leads Africa and Plus TV Africa. She was recently recognized as one of the top 50 leading ladies in corporate Nigeria in Leading Ladies Africa and an award-winning social media influencer for social good and positive impact. Nkem is the author of the best-selling book, The Harmonized Life. It is a personal leadership and transformational book written for busy professionals and entrepreneurs who are burned out and unable to prioritize but wants to take charge of their personal and professional realities in order to achieve optimum productivity and fulfillment in life and work. This book is also written for organizations that want to create a more humane workplace where people and business thrive. For that, you can get your copy at www.nkemoffonabo.com. So ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Nkem Offonabo.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you very much for being a part of this. I definitely am looking forward to this conversation. Thank you. So, distinguished members of the panel, may I see your faces, please? I need to see you, Dr. Gbonjubola, Folajaiye, and also Mr. Toluse Francis. You shall not be escaping this one. Okay, so we have had talks from Mr. Emmanuel and also from Folajaiye Kareem, and I realized that to an extent, there is this harmony between the definition of bullying from the HR perspective and the mental health perspective. So before we go on, I need to ask in clear terms, is it the same? Do we define bullying and harassment as the same from the HR perspective and the mental health perspective? So I'll start with you, Dr. Gbonjubola. Is it the same?
All right. Well, thank you very much. I think that at the end of the day, finding out whether they're the same would be to decipher what exactly the intent is. And of course, if the intent is to berate another person, whether the person is superior to you or your junior, any action that is seen as berating people, excluding others, making snide remarks, threatening them, that has to do with unfair criticism of them or stealing credit for the work done. Pretty much anything that is focused on making the other person look bad, making the other person feel bad, and making the other person feel like they're not, what it is that they're being credited for. It pretty much, focuses on putting the other person down so that another person feels better. Any act that, focuses on doing all of these things would, of course, fall into the category of bullying and harassment. Thank you.
Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you very much. So I'm going to move over to you, Nkem. You are all about the work-life balance and all the harmonized life. And I'm very sure what took you into this is because you've seen too many instances of people who are not living the way they should be, or they are probably have necks or legs rather, stepping on their necks. So would you care to give us instances, specific instances of what you would consider specifically actions and the inactions, things that when you see it, for instance, if you want to, let's use COVID-19, for instance, you know that this person is down, chances are that this person is down with COVID-19 when he or she has sore throat, when the person is coughing, when the person has this particular temperature. So what are those actions and inactions, as the case may be, that is presented or that bullying and harassment presents with that helps you to identify that this is it?
Thank you, Oluwaseun. And it's interesting to know that in terms of bullying and harassment, outside the definition that we have given both terms, I have been a victim of both. So I will be sharing from a personal experience, right? So in fact, one that happened recently that necessitated my taking some time away from work, like I had to take about 2 months out of work. So when we talk about harassment, it could be anything. It could be verbal harassment, it could be sexual harassment, it could be gender-based harassment, it could be anything. It could even be race-based harassment. So I will be dwelling on gender-based harassment that I experienced recently, just sometime last year, and how I was able to address that. Okay, so I had a situation in my place of work that an opportunity came, like a position, and I vied for that position, that I have all the qualifications. So I had this conversation with my line manager, or supposed line manager, that I presented all the justification on the table. And after everything, the only question, or rather the only statement that was made is that I don't want to work with a female. That is, as far as I'm concerned, that is discriminatory and that is harassment, because anything, just like Boju mentioned, that anything that degrades another person, anything that disrespects a co-worker, it's harassment, right? And I'm like, oh, really? Why do you have to say that? What differentiates a woman from a man in taking up this position? And he just couldn't say anything, right? And I asked further question, is this position based on my gender or based on my qualification, right? And he couldn't also provide me an answer. So like I said, there should be, in terms of reporting incidences like this, there should be a procedure to take. So what I did was I went a step forward and I went to his own line manager and I reported this case. Unfortunately, I thought I was going to get a fair hearing. The comment I also heard was that I don't have, how was it said? I don't have, I'm trying to remember the word that was used. I don't have a control over who he chooses to work with, whether he wants to work with a female colleague or a male colleague. And in my line of thought, I was like, okay, I'm not going to get the fair hearing that I deserve here. I need to take this further to human resources, because this has gone beyond my qualification here. And a line manager telling me I can't work with you because you are female, right? Anyway, I have to end it here. But the thing is that you wanted me to justify or make in clear terms what actions qualify for harassment and bullying in the workplace. So that is the first instance. So the second instance happened many years ago, right? And okay, let me end the other one. So at that point in time, it was a lot of, it was a traumatic experience for me, right? And I realized that even the person that I took this incident to couldn't do anything to help me, right? So most of the time, it's always the the prerogative is now for the employee or the victim to take decision by himself. So I decided at some point, you know what, let me not even take this to HR, right? And let me deal with the damage that has been done to me, because it affected me. It was a traumatic experience for me. So I decided to take some time away from work and, reappraise the whole situation, right? So that was how I was able to handle the situation. I didn't go further to HR to report the situation, but I had to deal with it myself, right? And by the time I came back to work, everything was fine, and I decided to move forward. So going back to the other incident that I experienced, that was a long time ago. So this was clearly a situation of bullying. And I'm trying to remember his name, like Fola, I think it was Fola that presented. Fola's session was so like, he was detailed, right? So the first experience I had was a situation whereby it wasn't even my line manager that was bullying me. It was someone that is more ahead of me. So what she does then was that she will leave, definitely if I'm taking a request or if I'm taking an assignment or a responsibility, I have to take that responsibility for my line manager, right? But what she was doing then was that she will leave my line manager. Instead of giving instruction to my line manager to then give the responsibility to whoever he or she was working with, she will come directly to me, give me instructions. And I find myself torn in a situation whereby, so by the time I take this instruction to my line manager, say, this is what my superior said I should do, and she will be like, you're on your own. Like, I didn't give you this instruction. So whatever it is, if you encounter any problem, don't come to me, right? It was a situation that I couldn't just handle at that point. Like I was in a situation where my line manager is here and is saying, you don't have my covering, you don't have my support, whatever it is that you encounter with the other superior. Right? So what then happens was that whatever it is I was doing at that time, she just didn't find it, as in she will always find a situation to undermine my performance. Like, you're not doing this well, you're not doing this well. And it got to a situation where I had to open up to this person. I went directly to her and I said, you know what, like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but this is how I feel working with you. These are the things that you do to me, and this is how I feel in terms of how these things affect me. So I remember when Fola was talking, when you have evidences. So what I did was to actually provide evidences of the work that I've been able to do, provide evidences of my appraisal, where my line manager actually, appraises me well, and also provide a situation of how I feel. So in that situation, I found out that going to work, I was always scared coming to work. So I presented all this situation with her, and I told her, I said, please, can you tell me exactly what is wrong with me in terms of my performance, why I'm always having issues with you? Because as far as I'm concerned, this is not about my performance, but a situation of me being bullied here. And to be honest with you, we sat down and had a conversation. Like, she was able to tell me the things or the issues that she has with me, which she has never done before. If not that, I had to approach this person directly to tell her what she has been doing and how what she has been doing affects me, affects my health and affects my mental health. And we were able to resolve this situation. So most of the time, it's not that HR, we don't have all these policies in place, but it's the fact that employees most of the time don't know what they are supposed to do when these things happen, or HR does not communicate this situation. So I also remember when I was in HR that HR took it upon themselves to actually give clear communication about what workplace bullying and workplace harassment entails. We even provided like graphical representation of what workplace harassment and bullying entails. And believe you, the number of cases that we received at that period heightened. Like, that's when you saw people people opened up, started coming to HR to complain, because a lot of times people don't know what bullying and harassment in the workplace what it means, right? But it's the responsibility of HR to actually communicate these things clearly with examples, with case studies, and that will also help to address things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Certainly detailed. Thank you. It gave clarity to a lot of things. Now, also it birthed a question that I want to throw to, I'll come back to Folajaiye, Kareem. So Dr. Gbonjubola, why do people bully? Why do we have bullies? Because the truth is there were some who are quite aware of what they're doing. Some, it appears that they don't really know. I want to believe there is more to the psyche of the person who has decided to constitute him or herself as a bully. So let us analyze it from the mental health perspective. Why are people bullies? Why do people bully?
All right. I mean, when you first asked that question, the first thing that came to my mind as you were asking is how that hurts people. So very often you find that people who bully people had actually either suffered abuse in a form in their lives. And as Nkem said, the abuse could have been physical, it could have been sexual, it could have been emotional, psychological, neglect, or even financial. And it doesn't have to be the fact that they suffered that abuse at the office. It may have started sometime early on in their life. Unfortunately, they didn't resolve these issues, and it continues throughout with them in life. So the reason why people bully, apart from the fact that they've been bullied before, is also that they may feel insecure. So I mean, why should this person be the only person doing so well in the room? Why should this person be the star of the room? Why can't I just pull them down? So a couple of people will bully others because they feel insecure about their abilities, their skills. And unfortunately, instead of finding out how exactly these people do the things that they do and see how to be better by themselves, they would rather just say, well, the general mentality around here, if I can't get it, why should you? Even if you are pair qualified and competent enough to take the job. So another reason is insecurity. A third reason I'd like to give is a feeling of powerlessness, pretty much learned helplessness. So this person has tried over and again to try to get something. And of course, if they can't get it, they also think that nobody else should get it. So a power of, a feeling rather of powerlessness over the situation on ground may also push people to bully. And then for the fourth one, I'll talk about the need to be in control. And so a lot of people, unfortunately, however, coming from a place of inferiority and low self-esteem themselves, start to project the opposite of exactly what they are going through onto other people. And how do they do this? They want to constantly be in control. They want to be in control of the situation. They want to be in control of the office. They want to be in control of the conversation. They want to be in control of everything that has to do with that individual. So that need to control, and that need to control very often comes from a place of emptiness, a place of low self-esteem, low confidence, self-doubt themselves. But of course, they're also thinking, I don't want to go down alone. And of course, I want to take this person down with me. And the last but not the least that I would want to talk about is the fact that sometimes our environment, our homes, so when Mr. Emmanuel was speaking, he said, while bullying occurs in offices, it also occurs in our homes. It occurs in our schools. It occurs everywhere. And somehow the environment is such that is one that, quietly but consistently reinforces such behavior, sometimes without even knowing. So the bully has continued to bully over time, and somebody sees it as, oh, fantastic behavior, and it is rewarded. So it may not be rewarded with badges or plaques or anything, but not doing anything about the situation, despite fact that it's been reported over and over and over again is a reinforcement for bullying. And of course, if the individual sees that, well, I've been doing this for so long and nobody has said anything about it, somehow, quietly, it may then become the culture of the organization. So when bullying or harassment becomes a part of organizational culture, such that this is how we do it here. I mean, a few weeks ago, I was speaking to a client of mine, and she mentioned how a certain law firm has the reputation of being a bullying ground. And this is me thinking, well, these are the people who are supposed to uphold our laws and everything, fight for the rights of people. And if such a thing is going on in this workplace, how on earth will people here thrive? How would they survive? How would they even be able to ensure that they are productive at the workplace? Definitely their motivation will be depleted at all levels. So I think that, many times the bully or the person who makes out bullying or harassment to another person is likely to be a wounded person who needs help themselves. And the only way that they can, take out their anger, their frustrations, is to pull down everything with them so that they don't go down alone. And so these are the reasons why I would tell you that people bully or harass other people, either in the workplace or anywhere else. Thank you.
Wow, that definitely was very, very loaded, because the truth is, one of the things that I'm hearing from what you're saying is runs deeper than we can even imagine. You look at the crab's mentality, the esteem issues, something that is happening, maybe somebody who was not properly whose esteem was damaged a lot, and so the person is power thirsty, and any opportunity they have to show that they're in charge or in control, they do that. That is really, really sad. And another thing that I'm pointing out, or that I'm getting from what you've said, is how we encourage it by not doing anything. So literally,
yeah.
I guess we have to be in each other's business in a good way. In a good way. If you're saying it and you're not saying anything, it becomes a culture. It becomes that really needs to be addressed. So thank you very much for that. I definitely going to do a lot. There is a question for you, Emmanuel, and it's from someone. So the person said, what about when bullies use the bullying procedure to bully someone? I'll take that again. What about when the bullies use the bullying procedure to bully someone? E.g., they report the person they are bullying, claiming they are bullying them. I have seen this a few times when there is mobbing. Also, some bullies seem to be genuinely unable to accept that they could do anything wrong and use anything, e.g., the victim's haircut or what they drink, as a justification for bullying, with the attitude that they are asking for it. Wow. Did you get a question?
I think I got the question. So what will resolve that is the investigative process that is deployed to identify what is actually going on. Like for me, I had to go through a training on workplace investigation. So they are certified workplace investigators. So for any HR professional who has not gone through that kind of training, there is need for them to be able to go through such a training, to identify and go through that training. It will provide them the necessary skills to be able to investigate workplace events. So when there is harassment, whether it is sexual or otherwise, there are procedures and steps that you will take to be able to identify and get the truth out. So if someone is trying to game the system, okay, try to beat the system when they are the ones who are actually perpetrating evil in that particular organization, it's very easy for you to be able to pick them out. So it's like, for instance, you are interviewing someone, okay, and the person is telling lies. Depending on their level, if you continually speak to this particular person for a space of 60 minutes, the person might be telling lies up until the 55th minute or 59. By the time you get to the 60th minute, the truth will come out, okay? The person will cave in because you ask them the same question in different form. And then they will forget the way they've answered before and then say something different. And then you ask again. So you can ask one question 10 different ways and you get different answers. It tells you this person is lying. But if they are telling the truth, they don't have to think before giving you the answer. Yes, there are people who maybe have mastered the ways and means of trying to beat questions, that you ask them. But if you ask them that question consistently over a period of time, they will cave in, and they will not know when they have caved in. So anyone who is trying to use the system to beat it in order to be seen as the person who is good, because I've had situations at work whereby this particular employee is the one always creating problems, fomenting trouble, but she's the first person to report so that you will not suspect them. It's like the case of saying the pot is calling the kettle black. The pot is already black, but it's looking for kettle to call, or calling a dog a bad name to hang it, So we know they exist. So what I will advise HR professionals is that they should be open-minded, okay? When someone is telling you the truth, I usually tell my colleagues that work with me, when I hear a story, there is always 3 sides to a story. You have the side, your side, you have the other person's side, and you have the truth. So the truth is usually in the middle. Everyone will come to you, tell you the story to favor them. They will not want to say the negative things that they've done. So sometimes when you ask, okay, so this is what happened. So what did you then do when this person behaved this way towards you? You will discover that they begin to stutter, which means they must have done something that resulted in that particular action. So HR professionals need to go through training on how to investigate workplace events. And that is the way they'll be able to catch the person who is trying to game the system.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, let's get really specific, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Toluse. So he has talked about how the HR needs to be very open-minded when it comes to listening to the employees that are initiating the bullying procedure. What if it's the HR that is actually bullying or harassing people? Or what if it's actually the boss, the superior boss that is bullying you? What do? Do you leave the place? Do you stay in it because you need to make money? What should be done?
I would have expected that this question would go to Nkem and Mr. Emmanuel and not me.
You're the one, you're in the mental health space, and also you deal with these people. So you've dealt with a lot of therapy, or a lot of people have brought their issues to you and you've handled them in therapy. I'm sure you've made advices and suggestions to them what they could do to wriggle out of the situation. So advise us what should be done in that kind of thing.
Okay, so I believe that the HR department is not the highest body in any organization. The HR manager or the HR business partner or the head of human capital development, depending on what each company calls theirs, is not the highest making body. So if in any organization you realize that the bullying is coming from the HR department, so I want to look at it that it's coming from the HR department, right? Let me look at it as coming from a person, maybe the HR business partner. The HR business partner has a boss. The HR business partner has someone that he or she reports to. So if it's at that level, then you can take it from there to the next level. If it's coming from the head of the entire department, that becomes a bit difficult, right? Because who should defend you is now the person attacking you, as it were. So it depends on how your organization runs. I believe every organization has an organogram. Every organization has a structure, right? You can take it to the next person who could be maybe the COO or the CEO, or maybe another manager. Some companies use VPs, right? So you could take it to the next person. But I believe strongly that private companies who do not support unions, private organizations who don't give room for you to join one union or the other, it might be pretty difficult for you to report to any union. But I think that your health is much more important than a particular job. I'm of the opinion that if any job is affecting your health, if any job is affecting your mental health, it's better that you step aside and go in search of another job, a place where you have peace, a place where you are at home with yourself. I know that some people will say it's that easy to say, right? But the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, what are you working for? And so you wake up every morning and the thought of you going to work scares you. And you know that you have no choice than to interact with this person. Sometimes the bullying may not even become for a particular person, but the processes might be triggering myself as a trigger to a lot of things. So my own personal position now, I would say personal position because if you're going to quote me outside, don't go and say mental health experts say that. No, Toluse Francis. let's be very clear. You know, I would say that any job that doesn't give you peace, any job that takes away your comfort, right? Not because you're not doing the job, not because it's not the job, but that looks for other ways just to frustrate you, I would say you should get out of it. That's the word. Not just leave, but get out. Because you can't, I mean, the danger is when these things happen, right? Like Fola mentioned in his presentation, they begin to affect such a person. And it's like it is raining. And instead of you going out with an umbrella, you're saying you don't want to be wet, yet no umbrella, no covering. And you keep saying, rain, don't beat me. But you are going under the rain without a covering. It's a waste of, it might be a waste of effort and money if you go for therapy and you are still in that same place, right? That is affecting you, right? You're not leaving. So you come today for a session, you feel okay, you get to work tomorrow, you're worse than the last time. So it continues like a cycle. So I mean, I think the best is just for you to think of how to exit and plan your exit properly. Let me just put it that way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, because I had to ask that question in order to let people know that at some point quitting becomes an option. Because the truth is, we are in a society that somehow vilifies you for quitting, especially when they don't know what is going on within you. So it's like you're a loser once you leave, once you don't fight, once you don't put everything, forgetting that the basis, there is actually no health without your mental health. And if your mental health is not fit, it affects every other part of you. Even the Bible says that, a heart that is sad, continually down, every other thing comes into it. So we need to understand that it is not, yes, it might be the last option, like we say, when push comes to shove, quitting actually is on the list of options. So don't feel so explore the other options, and you just have to leave the place. Now, I definitely will come over to you, Folajaiye, because somebody has a question for you.
Sorry,
Is it?
Nkem has her
So the
hand
person
up.
says,
I guess she wants to say something about that question.
oh, okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Lubashem. I actually want to write on what Toluse said. And if you remember correctly, when I was giving my own experience, it got to a point that I had to take some time away from work. It's almost the same as someone, like he said, getting out. More like quitting, but I didn't want to quit because I knew it wasn't a thing about quitting. It was just me being able to deal with the mental damage that it did to me at that point in time, right? So sometime, or most of the time, I think that no job is worth you putting yourself in any form of health or mental torture, right? So at that point, what I did, in fact, in 2 occasions, I had actually, a long time ago, I had to leave that department. An opportunity came, which I didn't ask for that opportunity, but an opportunity came and I had to leave. And then the recent one I talked about was I had to take some time away from work, but because I realized that if I had stayed within a space of 1 month, it either would have had a clash, and it's not good for my own reputation. It's also not good for the organization. We would have had, it would be difficult for me to work with that line manager. And I'm definitely not gonna give my best at work. So I needed to take my time away to deal with the whole thing. And I came back with a renewed mindset. And believe you me, things are not the way it was before. In fact, everyone is beginning to see that, oh, she would have really been the person for this job, trust me. But I like it the way that they are now the ones that are beginning to see it that way. So it's just me being able to corroborate with what Felicia said.
Yeah, thank you. And certainly, Sandra agrees with the two of you, judging by the points you just gave, because she said, totally true, because your self-confidence becomes affected and it can even affect your productivity, which is very, very correct. So I'll go to you, Fola. There is a question for you. The person says, as a person that has experienced a lot of bullying, I now suspect that a lot of the bullying happened because people saw me as an easy target, someone who wouldn't fight back due to my desire to not hurt, and also making myself a target due to my desire to be understood, in brackets, insecurity, and due to being different. A sense of guilt and shame, in brackets, believe that it must have been my fault, usually prevented me from reporting bullying. So she's saying that a sense of guilt and shame actually, held her back. Would it be possible for or viable for mental health programs to identify people with these problems and provide counseling to work through these issues? I'm not sure if basic counseling would help with this, as these irrational attitudes of mine came from trauma and were not just mental attitudes, but weren't based on my body. Did you get a question?
Well, I'm trying to understand the question, but if I get it clearly, I think the person who's asking is trying to find out what if there would be more rigorous interventions for people who are victims of bullying, particularly if they've had a pre-existing mental health condition. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So in my own opinion,
Yes.
I think mental health is a very vast topic that has been grossly undermined and underprioritized in our environment. And because of that, we necessarily do not have the level of expertise, amount both in quality and quantity that we need to in our environment. Doesn't mean we don't have people who have quality stuff, and doesn't mean we don't have the right professionals. It's just that access to them can be quite hard. However, we are hoping that through this medium that we have, people would understand what bullying entails. Because even from the get-go, people do not know the basic of what bullying is. And I'm very thankful for people like Nkem, who in her own capacity knew that she was bullied and stood up for herself and tried to do something about it. A lot of people would not even know that what they are going through is called bullying. Maybe it's part of the system that they have been through because it's the culture of the organization, and they find themselves in playing that same role. I say this because we all have been in some way exposed to some certain kind of bullying. But because of also the economic situation we find ourselves, some people just brush it off. They don't do the appropriate thing. People don't want to go home hungry. There is no people are fighting for jobs. People do not even have jobs, and then you are complaining about bullying. In the hierarchy of needs, people's basic needs are met because of their job. And then, so sometimes they just have to swallow a lot of things that happen. But today, we have learned that swallowing bullying behavior and everything has a capacity to bring out a multiplier effect. So you will not just be affected if you don't nip it in the bud. Your other employees will be affected. The company itself will be affected. So I would say that for anyone who has had a pre-existing mental health condition, the first approach would be to seek help by yourself. Try and get access to mental health professionals so that they can help intervene, get an appropriate diagnosis and get appropriate treatment, and then give do some of the things that a lot of everybody in the panel has advised today, which is to, as much as possible, try what you can to nip bullying and harassment in the bud before it becomes a big wound that cannot be stitched or covered. I think that would be my take on that.
Yeah, that's a healthy take. Thank you very much for it. I'll come to you, Dr. Gbonjubola. There is a question. Questions actually pouring in. So this person said, what about when the victim hesitates when testifying due to the fact that they are overwhelmed and they dissociate, brackets, blank out? This can be very subtle. Also, bullies with personality disorders may also regularly dissociate and thus look like victims. So the person is saying, what was the fate of the person who's reporting when you don't even know how to present your case? And there are some people who have personality disorders that maybe bipolar disorder in the case, for instance, and you don't believe or whatever. Let me not preempt you. So what should be done when a person doesn't know how to present it, and for other people who are making themselves look like the victims?
All right. Thank you very much for the question. And I'm grateful for all the submissions so far. Very often when I speak about workplace bullying, I say that I ask the crowd and I say that if you went to a workplace and you were being offered a job and the sign on the door said, this is a toxic workplace, would you still work there? And interestingly, I have a few people who put up their hands and they say, oh, maybe because of the money. Oh, let me just find out what's going on there. And the reality is that a lot of our workplaces are toxic. And a lot of us work in those workplaces. I'm happy about something that Fola said. And I think back to when I initially had this conversation with Toluse. And one of the things that I said to Toluse on that day was, for people to even realize that they're being bullied or harassed, they need to know what bullying looks like. There's so many people who have no idea, no clue, no inkling what bullying looks like, sounds like, or feels like. And because of that, we have allowed a lot of behavior to sink in over the years without challenging it, of course, reinforcing it quietly and unconsciously. And it's for that reason that, the part of the question that you asked for was, if someone who is being bullied feels like they're being preyed on. And that's something I want us to think about. That both the person who is being bullied and the person who bullies, both parties need an assessment. The person who bullies is like game for the person. They know what they're looking out for, and they're going to try to get it and ensure that they take that person down. So they know what they look out for in their prey. So they probably look out for people who are agreeable, who don't confront them when they ask questions. They look for people who are weak, people who don't challenge, any conclusions that they come to at the office. People who don't ask questions, people who seem like they have a low self-esteem, or generally people who just appear like they can't stand up for themselves, or who appear to have a lot of inadequacy. So the bullies look out for these factors in their prey, and they find it easy to prey on these individuals. However, you may also ask that, are there people who appear to have it all together, who are extremely confident, who are extremely fantastic at their job, and they still try to prey upon? Definitely yes. But if you look at both categories of people, you would find that more often than not, the people that successfully get preyed on, bullied or harassed, would fall into the former group, where they have problems with their self-esteem, they have issues of self-doubt, they have issues of confidence, and they have issues with being assertive at the workplace. So I think that many times you may find people who may have suffered abuse previously at some point in their life, or who may have self-esteem issues, and who unfortunately had been battered either from emotional, physical, or even sexual abuse, or even neglect. And of course, that forms the foundation for the basis of their life. And over time, unfortunately, this has created their personality, like you said, an agreeable personality most times that does not counter anything that is said, but that they take it down hook, line, and sinker. And when they come into places like this, they can't even stand up for themselves. They can't challenge institutions or rules that have been there for such a long time. It is not unusual that a lot of our workplaces are filled with these people. But the truth is, as HR professionals and as mental health professionals, we need to be the ones who stand in the gap for these people who can't stand up for themselves. And of course, beyond laying down policies in the workplace, beyond ensuring open door policies or open corridor policies, like Emmanuel said when he was speaking, ensure that we have these people speak to us. We're able to identify them. We're able to help them even when they appear like they cannot help themselves. Of course, the person who bullies once in a while may want to take on a personality where they pretend like they don't know what's going on. They, in fact, want to play the victim. It may, of course, be a part of their psychopathology as they try to get people on their side to believe that, oh, they haven't done anything wrong. But remember when I said both the bullied and the person who bullies definitely need all the help that they can get. Thank you very much.
Very well put. Thank you so much. And I think, like I mentioned when I was giving some introduction, that essentially we all have to be in each other's business in a good way, because as you have rightly mentioned now, first, we all need to have a good understanding of what bullying here, and harassment is, so that we can identify them, so that we can help someone who doesn't necessarily know how to go about it, or who doesn't even know that he or she is being bullied. So certainly, we all need to be each other's brother's keeper. So that would definitely go a long way in, stemming the tide of bullying and harassment in the workplace. Now I'll come over to you, Mr. Emmanuel, because there's a question for you. This question says, what sort of interventions would be best to deal with a group of bullies/mobbing, especially if they constitute most of the team and productivity will suffer if they are fired or held to account?
Okay, I saw the question earlier.
Yeah.
So I think for any organization to successfully address the issue of bullying or harassment, it comes down to the core values of that particular establishment, okay? And research has also shown that when you have so many people being bullied, those, especially if they are the high-performing ones, and they decide to exit that organization, productivity will still drop, okay? Then you have a group of people who bully others. We have situations where maybe you have the sales, maybe the head of sales, and because he's the head of sales, he bullies everybody within the department, and we feel if we take him out, we are likely going to lose. But in actual fact, what is happening is that if you take out that person that is bullying the team's productivity will go higher than what it is today, okay? And so because organizations or the people who are leading organizations are not aware that this person, though he or she is producing, but if you check the impact on the employees, you will discover that those employees are suffering, eventually, they're not really maximizing the potential of the people within the system. So I will say that the core values of the organization will determine whether the organization will be able to successfully to remove this group of people who are bullying others within the system. And then the other thing that I also want to talk about is, why do we allow ourselves to be bullied? It's usually fear. We've talked about fear of losing the job, okay? So if I know that when I lose this job, because of the fear of losing the job, I will accept whatever it is that comes my way. That tells us something, that there is need for us to begin to have an exit plan, okay? From day one, when you join, whether there is bullying or no bullying, okay? Every person should have an exit plan. The exit plan could mean so many things. Either you need to begin to save, okay? Such that if something happens to your job within the next 6 months, you have enough. Yes, we might say that, yes, the salary we are paid today is not enough, but we can still save from that and then begin to talk to financial advisors who will help us find ways to be able to multiply our income. That will help create that sense of security. And then we're able to face the people who are bullying us. Because when you've been able to cover the fear, okay? Take care of that particular fear. It means that you'll be able to face anything that comes your way. So I will say there is need for organizations to have a proper structure in place. You know, when we talked about if it's the HR manager that is bullying you, what do you do? Do you just get away because there's no one that is going to help you? If there is a proper structure in place, there should be an avenue for you to escalate. We've had situations where even the CEO is the one bullying people. The CEO is the one harassing people, okay, within the organization. What do you do? Is there an opportunity for you to escalate to the board, even if it's anonymously? In my organization, we have a whistleblowing procedure so that you can escalate anything. You can report anyone, okay? You might not necessarily identify yourself. So you're going through something, yes, by the time you make the first report and it goes through the whistleblowing process, if the organization is serious about growing, okay, they will take that issue serious and address it. Because what happens is, yes, today, the organization might be seen as succeeding with that bullying behavior in place, but it's only for a short time. After a while, that organization will begin to go down. Why? People will begin to talk about what is going on in that particular organization, and it becomes the brand. As they continue to talk, people will begin to identify, okay, that is the organization where, so they will begin to find it difficult to get good hands to go to that particular organization. And before you know it, that organization will die. It will definitely die. Even if you look at within the country, look at organizations that are used to bullying people, where you have the work environment is toxic. They are all dying. They're dying gradually. There's one insurance company that I know, very well-known insurance company, and the owner of the business was always doing funny things there. It's even a quoted company, okay? Today, that company has lost its glory. It's no longer the way it used to be before. Okay? So it will definitely impact that organization. So they might think, let's leave them because they're the ones bringing in the money. We can't afford to let, there is no one who is indispensable. If that person who is bullying people decide to drop dead today, he or she will be replaced. So organizations should not be afraid to take out anyone who is a cancer in the system. You know, if you don't take that cancer away, it's going to infect the whole system, and eventually the business will go down. So that's my message to this person who is asking this question.
Thank you. That was well put. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. Now we have a lot of questions pouring in, but unfortunately, due to time constraints, we definitely cannot take everything. So if you have a specific question for one of the speakers, you can always reach out to them on social media. You can search them out using their names, you know. You can search for Emmanuel Michael on social media, across all social media platforms. Nkem, Offonabo, Toluse Francis, Gbonjubola, Abiri rather, and Folajaiye Kareem. And also you can get, please, in fact, I am encouraging you to get The Harmonized Life by Nkem Offonabo. Reach out at www.nkemoffonabo.com. Definitely, it's going to explain a lot of things to you about the work-life balance. And finally, or rather, second to the last question for you, Nkem. So there is this person asking that to prevent future bullying, it's worth reporting bullying from old workplaces years ago. What about that when the bullies have moved on to new workplaces? So do we go back? Do we in the bid to address everything? Do we uproot, excavate, dig out everything?
So what I will say is that, which every one of us have addressed here, is that it's always good to address these things immediately as they happen, right? Because if you allow it or want to go back, dig out the past, do you have the evidence to prove all of these things? So it's usually important to, when you experience all of this, or you first of all understand what bullying and harassment is, and when you know and you're convinced that you are experiencing this, it's always good to address it. Just nip it in the bud immediately, right? Because if you want to go back to the past, there are a lot of things you have to contend with. You have to prove that this actually happened. You have to ensure that you have evidence, information to prove all of these things. So what my take here is always address these things as they happen. always address them as they happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So nip it in the bud. If not, when it becomes a cancer, it spreads, it becomes really, really dangerous and disastrous to everybody's well-being. The company's productivity, revenue, return on investment, whatever it is, it's going to affect everybody. So in case you're reaching out or looking out for how to contact all the speakers or the panelists, you can definitely go to the chat section. It has been reeled out for you there. So please, contact them and follow them, get a conversation going with them. So this is the last question for today, and I'm throwing it to you, Toluse. Now, we've all talked about all the how to identify bullying, the things that encourage bullying when it is not addressed, the end result of bullying. But let's get specific. For instance, I've seen a lot of stories online about Nollywood, the movie industry, and a lot of sectors in Nigeria about how people they are harassed, they are bullied, be the female or the male. Now, the question is, are there some factors that actually make a workplace prone to bullying, or are some workplaces actually more prone to bullying than the others?
Honestly, Sean, I don't think you're being fair to me. The questions you're supposed to ask the HR professionals, you're throwing at me. See Nkem here, see Michael here, you're not asking them. You're now asking me. I don't think that's fair. But I think that so are there factors that make bullying exist in a workplace? I think like Dr. Abiri said, if you are that kind of person who, because you don't want to offend people, you don't want people to feel bad, you take in everything, you swallow everything, people will take you for granted. Because I feel that people take, one of the, at the root of bullying is the opportunity to take someone for granted. Is the opportunity to, I call it a predator-prey relationship. Let's put it that way. The person sees you as a prey, and because he has configured your thinking to see him as a predator, to see him as a giant, right? So he knows that if he tells you to sit down there, you would sit down, because his continuous and constant actions towards you have a way of conditioning you to, one, be afraid of the person, two, be afraid of the consequences of you reporting. And so you think of what would happen if I report this person, and because of that, you keep quiet, and the person begins to continue. Any workplace that puts so much powers in the hands of a person gives room for bullying. When you leave so much authority in the hands of a person, you give so much room for people to take advantage of each other. Before we started this webinar, I was going through Gbenga Totoyi's Instagram post, and he was talking about Barcelona and Messi. Apologies to those who are not football fans, but I'd like to draw an analogy from that. Now, when Pep Guardiola was the football manager, was the manager at Barcelona, he built the team around this young man. Everybody gets the ball and they pass to Lionel Messi. Everybody gets the ball and they pass to Lionel Messi. Now, they played a game against Bayern Munich, a German club, some weeks back, and they were trashed 8-2. And then at that point, he said he was quitting. And now the backroom staff, or Barcelona as the case may be, are looking at, okay, where is this guy going? And people are asking, how does this team survive, and all that and all that. And I was saying that when you build a team, right? When you build a team, you give room for people to grow together. You give room for people to appreciate each other's strength and weakness. You give room for people to look after each other and care for each other. But when you build a team around one person is the COO, one person is the HR guy or the HR lady, one person is the one that locks the door or shuts the door, opens the door every day. All you have simply said is, you know what, you call the shots in this company. So whatever you do, I believe in you, go ahead. I've listened to people who the co-founder, one of the co-founders happened to be the HR guy, and he was harassing another lady. Who will the lady report to? Nobody. Because when she took it to the other co-founder, that look, I'm being harassed or bullied here, says take it to this other person, the HR guy. But she couldn't go there because this is a person who is harassing her and who is taking advantage of her. So for everyone, we need to look at a way that organizations have structure, that one person is not the alpha and omega. One person is not the only one who has the opportunity or who employees have access to when issues happen. If the head of human capital or HR is the one harassing or bullying someone, can I report to another senior manager in the organization? Who will be able to take it up? Or is it a case that once it is not the HR person, you have no business talking to any other person? So I think organizations need to begin to run an open door policy, not just that you tell people that it's open door, but they can walk up to you. I remember, just to conclude, some years back when I was working in the supply chain industry before I left, that the way it worked then, it was very easy for you to even walk into the CEO's office to talk to him. Right? When you talk to the HR business partner and you're not satisfied, you can walk to the head of HR. I mean, I remember I had an issue with my salary at some point in time, and the HR BP I felt was too slow as regards the matter. I was able to send a mail to the head of HR and it got resolved. I think if organizations begin to run this kind of policy, it's going to help. And also, if you don't make it look like, everybody is at the mercy of the other person, if employers don't paint that picture that we are doing a favor by giving you this job, I think it would also help. Because you hear people say things like, it's not your fault, if not that we pitied you and gave you this job. If employers can understand that you've offered this person this role because you feel or you have the feeling that this person is deserving, this person has the qualities or the qualifications that you need, don't let your employees feel like you're doing them a favor giving them the job, because already they are coming to that workplace and they are shy, they are timid, they don't want to do anything because they are grateful that you gave them the job. And so when you say slap yourself, they will slap themselves because you have given them a job and you have told them that I'm just helping your life. That's why I gave you this job. So many things to say, but let me just stop here.
It's not my question. It's not my question. You almost spent 1 hour explaining the question. So what if it was not your question? You would have
Don't be
spent
angry.
3 hours explaining. Thank you so much. That was well, Marsha. Definitely. I needed to ask that question so that people watching or listening would understand there is no place where you have capital letter workplace bullying or where you feel it is endemic. Any place, any workplace, organization, parastatal, industry, sector, you can have bullying there as long as you give too much power than necessary to a particular person or a group of persons. Once you do that, once you create an unbalanced system, bullying then begins to rear its ugly head and people feel like, they can do things and get away with it. I ask it because there are a lot of people that feel there is a particular industry that, yes, because those people are who they are, in government, we have should I kill the sacred cow? One of the reasons why we are experiencing things we're experiencing as Nigerians is because our government has too much power. There is so much for them to take. And of course there is the impunity. They can do things and get away with it. So I think all Nigerians should actually go for therapy because we are being bullied by our leaders constantly. So once you have a system, once you create a system, a team, an organization, a sector where there is too much power given to a person, a group of persons, you open the chance for bullying. And with that, I hereby give my humble submission and ask the convener of this program to give his
Nkem's hand is
final
up.
remarks.
Nkem's hand is up. Nkem, you have the floor.
Okay.
Okay, thank you once again. I just wanted to add to everything Toluse has said, and this one, it's more about giving the power to the employees or the victim, that most of the times where these acts get perpetrated, whether it's bullying or harassment, is because let me not use the perpetrator, sorry, the victims tolerate all these things. When you understand the effect, it's until you become a victim that you understand how far-reaching this effect can be, right? But when you are talking from the outside, you will not understand how damaging this can be. So I would say that part of the things that victims need to do is to begin to speak up, because people let all these things lie low. They don't speak up, and the perpetrators are not, they are not dealt with. That's why the perpetrators will continue to conduct these acts. Then another thing I also found that based on experiences, people's experience that they have shared with me is that part of the reason why line managers or line managers bully their subordinates is, I think, sometimes subordinates also give room for that, and it has to do a lot with your performance, right? I am the type of person that I don't give people room to talk to me anyhow. When you are giving me instruction on what to do, I have to make sure that I first of all get clarity about what you want me to do. I have the timeline in place, and I make sure that I deliver or over deliver. So when you under deliver, you give room for your line manager or your superior to have the opportunity to talk you down and, you know, just yell on you. All these things constitute bullying. So first of all, you need to bring your A game to the job, so you don't give anyone any room to undermine you or undermine your performance. That is also very key. Then the third thing I also want to say is that make sure you have advocates in the organization. So there was a time, this was even a recent thing. So I just noticed that this lady, I was supposed to work with her team. I have had an experience with her in the past, and I know what it was like. And recently I was meant to work with her, and I noticed that she was still judging me from the experience that we had back in the days. Immediately I perceived it that she still wants to be able to dominate me or something. I didn't give her room for that. I first of all went to my line manager, then narrated the previous experience I had with this person. I say, I noticed that this person is like this, and I will not tolerate any treatment or any bullying treatment from this person and all of that. So she actually advocated for me. She intervened in that situation, and everything was addressed, and I didn't have any issue with this lady. So it's always good to have advocates in the organization that I can also speak for you or intervene when you perceive things like this. So those are the things I wanted to speak on.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. It was very, very important. Don't give anybody a room to bully you. Make sure you're bringing your A game and ensure that you're playing your own part so that you will not feel guilty, where you can boldly speak out, you know, that you did put in your best. That was very, very important. So thank you again to everybody who has been a part of this, everybody who joined on YouTube. We actually currently streaming live on YouTube. So thank you to everyone who has been a part of it. If there were to be a gift, if I had a gift, I would have given it to you, Alexandra W, because you were the most active on this platform today in this conference. So thank you for being so active, engaging us, dropping your questions. And on YouTube, I think Simon Chidera too was quite active there. So thank you very, very much. If you want to drop your thought or a nugget that you got from this session online, you can always do that and tag any of the speakers that made it nugget, and also tag Royal Consultant, also any of the speakers. If you want to have this snapshot of this session, by all means do it. Anything you want to drop there, please. And show that you continue the conversation on workplace bullying, because it is everywhere. These things need to be addressed. So finally, over to you, Mr. Toluse Francis, for the closing remark.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Oluwaseun. Let me start by thanking you for taking this up and accepting to be our moderator. I want to thank Nkem, especially. Everybody is important. I want to thank Nkem because she was supposed to have a master class today, and she told me she should just be here for 15 minutes, but she has stayed with us for 2 hours. I'm very, very grateful, Nkem. I'm very, very grateful that you did this with us. Mr. Emmanuel, I'm very grateful as well. I know you're a busy man. Thank you very much for accepting this invitation. I really appreciate it, and we're just getting started. Don't worry. Like I said, this conversation cannot just end like this. Very soon, we'll have to take this to the workplace proper. So all those that I've had on board today, please get ready. Dr. Abiri, I'm so grateful. Thank you once again. Always there whenever I call on you. I appreciate. My brother and friend from Abuja, happy birthday. I took you out of your birthday celebration. I remember when I reached out, said, today is my birthday, but I will come. Thank you very much for doing that and for accepting our invitation. Thank you, everyone. Like I said, like I typed here, you can follow us on social media, Real Consulting. Every Thursday, we have what we call the Rise Above It show, which is focused on the workplace and mental health. Season 2 resumes next week, Thursday. We're having an all-female season this time around. So for the females here, get ready. You'll be hearing more from us. Please, if you have picked up anything from the webinar today, let the world know. Tweet, put it on Instagram, tag any of the speakers, tag Real Consulting. Nkem is Nkem Offonabo. Mr. Emmanuel is En Michael on social media. He's not on Instagram, but you find him on Twitter, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn.
Finally on Instagram.
He's on Instagram.
I've actually tagged you on Instagram. So my Instagram is En Michael with an NG at the end.
Okay, En Michael at the end. Dr. Gbonjubola is Dr. Gbonjubola. Am I correct, Doctor? Is it Dr. Gbonjubola, Dr. Gbonjubola Abiri? Yes.
Gbonjubola Abiri. Yes, you're correct. Thank you.
Find every one of them on Instagram, on social media. Please tag, let us know what the lessons are. So thank everyone who has joined us today, and we hope that you spread this message, what you have learned, you take it back to your workplace, talk to your friends so they also know. So my name is Toluse Francis once again, representing Real Consulting right here. And at this point, I would like to say thank you and do have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Okay, bye. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and you too.
Wish you the same. Bye.
Thank you so much for answering all my questions. That was amazing.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Alexandra.
Alexandra. Sorry we couldn't take all your questions, but you can always tag any of the speakers, and even myself would respond. Tag us on social media, would respond. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.